Hello guys, welcome to another video, and I've rolled a new build after my Flamewood Totem League starter unfortunately perished. The footage you can see in the background is the new build in action, and one of the skills which stood out to me as something that I really wanted to try out this league when I first saw it in the transfigured gem reveals was Volatile Dead of Seething. Now if you don't know what the normal Volatile Dead gem does, it's essentially a corpse explosion skill which creates floating orbs of fire which then chase down enemies like homing missiles. This transfigured version of Volatile Dead has two changes to the normal gem. Firstly, it explodes 10 corpses instead of 3, and then it also has a maximum cap of 10 orbs at a time instead of 60. This means that focusing on the corpse explosion element of the skill is much easier than what you'd normally do with Volatile Dead, which is scale the fire orbs as your main damage. And this skill will instantly explode 10 corpses for 4% of their maximum life each. That's going to be a lot of burst damage when you have the potential for some high life Spectre corpses to spawn from Desecrate. However, I'm playing solo self-found that I didn't get my hands on this version of Volatile Dead just yet. But I did get one of the new transfigured versions of Detonate Dead. That's the Detonate Dead of Chain reaction gem. This one is actually quite comparable to Volatile Dead of Seething. This skill explodes up to 8 corpses in a chain which accelerates over time, and it ends up feeling a little bit like a mini Vow Detonate Dead. The corpses explode for 5% life instead of 4%, and this skill also has 1% higher base critical strike chance than Volatile Dead. And this is important because my plan was to scale crit explosions using the Inquisitor's Inevitable Judgment notable. Scaling critical strikes on the corpse explosion element of this skill is very difficult because this part of the skill is not affected by spell crit scaling modifiers. So you need to just try to get as much generic crit and crit multi as possible. And so far, Detonate Dead of Chain reaction is a lot of fun and it's really satisfying to play as well. My setup is a bit scuffed at the moment because I'm very early in progression for the build and I don't even have a 5 link just yet. But my plan is to farm Heist and go for the Leadership's Price unique amulet. This amulet will provide Scorching, Brittle and Sapping Conflux, which means all damage inflicts those ailments. Now unfortunately, the Scorch is a bit wasted here due to the Inquisitor's resistance bypass, but the Sapping and especially the Brittle Conflux is just absolutely massive for this build. As I said, scaling crit for Corpse Explosion is really difficult, and getting a large amount of base crit from Brittle will be very impactful. In the meantime, I'll try to go for Brittle Ground from the Eldritch Implicits on my boots. And also, a quick word on Heist while we're talking about that. The end rewards from blueprints are a lot nicer now if you haven't tried it. They did buff the currency rewards, so whenever you find currency at the end of a blueprint, you get a much bigger stack. It's usually 15 to 20 Chaos Orbs, for example, which is a great change. But yeah, even on an extremely scuffed setup right now, the build feels quite smooth to play in late yellow maps. I'm currently using Eldritch Battery and Mind Over Matter, which is really nice with the Inquisitor's Pious Path notable. So I'm able to solve skill costs and still use my energy shield defensively as well. And I'm reserving Determination, Grace, Defiance Banner and Tempest Shield, so a very defensive aura setup there. There's not really any good offensive auras for this type of build except for Haste, which I'm already using in a Divine Blessing setup. Anger doesn't do anything here. Zealotry is more spell damage and increased spell crit, so that does nothing either. I could have made use of Purity of Elements, but since I opted for Tempest Shield and I already have Freeze immunity from the Pantheon, I felt like that one was a little bit lackluster too. Overall, I'm enjoying the build quite a lot so far, and I think the build will feel much nicer to play once I'm on a 5 link and I have Brittle Ground in play. And I just wanted to do a little bit of an update with what I'm doing in the league, and I haven't interacted very much with the league mechanic at all because it was just so incredibly overtuned in the first few days, so I avoided it like the plague. I believe they've made some fixes to it now, so I'll start to interact with it a little bit more. But how's your league going? Let me know. I'd love to hear from people who are playing some of the new abilities with how they're getting on with those. But that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.